Something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
All right, welcome to it here as we kick off the beginning of the next week. The beginning of the week after. The beginning of a changed America. I truly believe that. Thank you for being here, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom every single day. Who do you want in your foxhole? I think I'd like somebody like Charlie Kirk. I dedicate this program to him and to Turning Point USA, tpusa.com. Get involved. Here are the three big things you need to know. Number one, the funeral, the official public funeral will be next Sunday in the Arizona Cardinal Stadium. Holds about 70,000 people. I guess the other million or so will need to have to see it on Jumbotrons outside. Number two, church attendance surging in America and accelerated over the weekend, we're told. It certainly is the Charlie effect. Believe me, it's real. And number three, let's get you up to speed on all of it. The assassination of Charlie Kirk was an attack on the most basic of American principles. The freedom to your opinion. And the freedom to engage in a society with people who believe differently than you without fear that you'll be gunned down in front of 3,000 college kids and murdered for your thoughts. That was taken from Charlie last week, but there are millions of Americans rising up in his wake, dead set on ensuring it's not taken for good. In fact, it was a watershed moment, my friends. It will change Americans and America forever. America will cease to exist if the left continues on its current path, stoking political violence, celebrating when a civilian kills another in cold blood for sport. America will cease to exist if the echo chambers of progressivism churn out death sentences for those that do not agree and push back hard. I'm still not over this. I don't think I ever will be. I think there are millions of others who feel the same way. Charlie's death has given life to a movement bigger than himself. It's up to us to keep that spark, to keep that fire burning. In the blowback from the assassination of Charlie, Turning Point USA has seen an explosion of support. Listen to this. Prior to the killing, TPUSA had 900 official college chapters. Roughly 1,200 in high schools, 3,500 affiliations. But since that shot took his life, there have now been 32,000 inquiries and growing by the day. This is as of yesterday, early. 32,000 inquiries on how to start a new chapter. 32,000. The revival is real and growing in America, and it is the blood of Charlie that's helping to make that happen. Of course, the blood of Christ first, but Charlie being murdered triggered this revival. Americans are waking up left and right with a desire to do the right thing. Here's a former Democrat, Batya Ungar-Sargon. Listen to what she says.
But what actually caused this was the utterly quotidian, utterly ubiquitous demonization of the political opposition from the left. And it has just led to violence because they said the other side were Hitler and Nazis. They said that speech is violence. To combine those two things together is to sign the death warrant of prominent conservatives. And that is what we are seeing again and again and again. And it is utterly facetious to suggest that there is any comparison between political violence on both sides. Every example they bring is not actually showing that, whether it's Governor Shapiro, whose attempted assassination was from a Free Palestine leftist, or whether it was the Minnesota assassinations, which were from somebody who said he was operating at the behest of Democrat Governor Tim Walz.
There has to be a reckoning in this country. There has to be a condemnation of political violence, yes. But especially the kind of rhetoric that stokes this kind of assassination. Charlie knew this is where we were headed. This is why he fought so hard at such a young age to keep the conversation going, to show his opponents, the conservatives, well, we're real people with reasonable opinions. Not the thick-skulled bigots and fascists that the media would have you believe we are, and Democrats want us to be, so they can continue their false claim of what we are, that we're not. You want to run the tape? Yeah, let's do that. Listen to this.
Let me ask you tonight, do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do.
This is what kicking the shit out of fascism looks like.
Try to prevent the spread of the lawlessness and the fascist chaos that's been unleashed against us.
So when we say Donald Trump is a fascist, fascism, a huge component of fascism is uniting racism, bigotry, a form of racist nationalism.
We are now living in a fascist dictatorship.
No, please.
We are worried about potential rise of fascism in this country. We're worried about our democracy falling to an authoritarian and potentially fascist form of government.
Not only to roll over to Donald Trump's will, but to roll over our democracy and allow him to take over this country as a fascist dictator.
When fascism isn't just coming, it's already here.
The former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, said, "No one has ever been more dangerous to this country than Donald Trump, and he is a fascist to his core."
Yeah. There's one problem with all that garbage. It's this. The ultimate expression of fascism, of course, is murdering the person you don't agree with. That is the pinnacle of fascism. I don't agree with them. We'll just silence them by killing them. You and I both know there are hours upon hours more of where that came from. This is not a both sides issue. I am not a Nazi. I'm not a fascist. I'm not a racist. I'm not the dangerous enemy that the left wants to paint me and pretend that I am. But that seems to be the only way they think they can win, by turning you, me, into villains instead of engaging with our ideas. What does the lifelong Representative Maxine Waters instruct her constituents to do? Well, I'll let her tell you herself. Here she is.
If you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome.
Attack them. Thank you, Maxine. That's the exact opposite of what Charlie did. He said everyone was welcome to engage with him, yet he was the one labeled as a hateful bigot. I'm not a racist. I'm not a fascist. I'm not a white supremacist. I'm an American. And I will not be labeled anymore by these fringe, radical, hateful groups on the left. I will not. Stand up, be heard. I'll be right back.
Hi, it's Steve.
Charlie Kirk was shot sitting beneath a banner that read, "Prove me wrong." And a deranged far-left lunatic decided that the best way to do that was to shoot him, to kill him, because the left had convinced him that Charlie was the moral equivalent of Adolf Hitler, that I'm a Nazi and a white supremacist. There are many Democrats refusing to accept their responsibility. Elizabeth Warren, J.B. Pritzker have immediately pivoted to Donald Trump in January the 6th. Predictable, but left-wing podcaster Charlemagne the God stopped Representative Jasmine Crockett from pivoting by doing something unexpected, acknowledging it. Listen to this.
I think we all incite whether we think we do or not. And what I mean by that is I've definitely, called that regime fascist, right?
Yeah.
If you hear somebody call him Hitler, or when he calls us racist scumbags.
Yeah.
If there's some white supremacist lunatic who thinks you or me are a racist scumbag, let me take that racist scumbag out. If there's somebody that thinks, oh, Hitler, and then they look at a lot of the actions that are going on, they're like, well, let's prevent this before 4 million people get killed. So I can understand how all of it incites violence.
Yeah, no, I
Bizarre. She's trying to deflect. Mark my words. This will be the end of the line for moderate Democrats. This is the end of the line for moderate Democrats. There can be no but in the sentence after condemning political violence. There can be no but. Americans just witnessed the public execution of a 31-year-old father and husband. Oh, and they're watching. A concerning amount of liberals celebrate on TikTok, on Instagram, on Blue Sky, you name it. I won't even play all the evidence on here because it's so disrespectful. And Americans are turning away in disgust. I won't give them that platform. This is where cancel culture has led us. On pre-Elon Musk Twitter, for example, you were deplatformed for having an unpopular opinion. Donald Trump was kicked off. Project Veritas kicked off. Sitting members of Congress like Marjorie Taylor Greene kicked off. Medical professionals like Dr. Peter McCullough kicked off. Charlie Kirk himself silenced. When parents protested government overreach at school board meetings, they were labeled as domestic terrorists. And Attorney General Merrick Garland, he launched dozens of investigations into people's parents, using our counterterrorism task force to try to intimidate parents into surrender. But they didn't back down. They certainly will not now. Pro-abortion groups Jane's Revenge vandalized, terrorized, and set on fire pregnancy help clinics, leaving messages like this: if abortions aren't safe, then you aren't either. These were pregnancy help clinics, often run by volunteers that set up at-risk moms with the resources and support they could so they could have a child. But this is what the left has become by and large. They don't care what you're contributing to society. They don't care who you're helping. They only care that you get in line with their ideology, period. Or else they'll shoot you like Charlie. It's being confirmed now from multiple sources that the shooter lived with his transgender partner for more than a year, and that he had anti-fascist and transgender phrases etched into his ammo. You've heard that. His family confirmed that despite growing up in a conservative household, the killer had far left beliefs, radical beliefs. And now we're learning so did that roommate. So did that transgender lover. It's almost mind-bending that the question Charlie was answering at the time of his death was on mass shootings committed by transgender individuals. The message cannot be more clear. The fruit of left-wing political activism is rotten to its core. Have you seen any cities burned down since Charlie was murdered? Police attacked? No, you know what I've seen? I've seen prayer vigils. all over the world, by the way. I've not seen violence, and I pray that more than ever Americans reject all of this left-wing violence. I think they are. I want to give you hope for that. I think this kind of shock has opened the eyes of many into just how toxic left-wing ideology has become. I'm seeing a lot more of this. This is from CBS 9 News. Listen.
We want to live in a country where someone like Charlie Kirk can speak his mind, making some people cheer and other people scream in anger, and if they want, they can meet his speech with speech of their own, and then everyone goes home safe to their families. That's how America's supposed to work. Words can hurt, words can harm, words can cause fear, but words are different than physical violence. And this country has long recognized that even harmful speech is worth protecting, because speech is an alternative to violence.
Speech is not violence. It's an alternative to it. Shooting someone you disagree with, that's violence. When you believe that speech is violence, then you can justify opposing it with actual violence. What Charlie Kirk's murderer told himself. I think a lot of people's social media feeds are being flooded with sound bites from Charlie's debates and conversations with people he disagreed with, and I think they're realizing that Charlie is, or sadly was, a lot more reasonable than the media ever painted him. A man willing to defend his belief with dignity is a better person than those in society who would rather see someone like that dead, murdered in front of his own family. That's the way it was. That's the way it is. A lot of this has been discarded, our freedom of speech, but it can be renewed if enough people value it and fight for it and stand for it. Again, I dedicate this program today to Charlie Kirk. Find out more at tpusa.com. tpusa.com. Go find out more. Open a chapter. Open your eyes. It's what Charlie would want. It's what I want. We'll be back. All right, so I will be in Arizona next weekend, Sunday. We're going to go to Charlie Kirk's memorial. It's going to be held at Arizona Cardinals Stadium. It seats over 70,000 people. The problem with that is it's going to be far too small for the number of people that turn out. There is a revival afoot, my friends. I am concerned about the safety of those that go because I feel that it's the kind of target these radical leftists might find convenient. Let's go kill Charlie Kirk supporters. I hope not, but it is a concern. Look, it's a different day now. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek his will in all you do. And he will show you which path to take. I'll just share that with you. He'll show you which path to take, all right? While the elites got rich off crypto, hardworking American patriots were often left behind, but not anymore. Block Trust IRA changing that, bringing the crypto opportunity to real Americans like you. Crypto fueling President Trump's America First economic miracle. Now is your chance to join the movement. The Animas AI trading platform runs 24/7, crushing old school strategies and helping patriots like you build serious wealth, just like the elites. It's been named the #1 crypto tech platform by Bitcoin Magazine. Block Trust IRA offers up to $200 million in protection. Some clients seeing returns of 250%. Now, whether you're a teacher, a truck driver, a retiree, small business owner, doesn't matter. Get involved. Get up to $2,500 in bonus crypto when you sign up right now. Visit SteveGruberCrypto.com. SteveGruberCrypto.com, making retirement great again. I'll be right back. Glad to have you here. Comments? Go to SteveGruber.com. Go to SteveGruber.com. Send me your emails. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? I'll be right back. Trying to make sense of the senseless. It's, it's part of the job, I guess, right? And somebody asked me yesterday, how did you take it? Well, I was live on the air. I was in the middle of a live broadcast. We knew going into the broadcast that Charlie had been shot. on America's Voice. We knew that going into America's Voice Live. I do that show 3 to 4 every day. It was pretty clear as the videos continued to churn out that it was not a survivable hit. I said that. And then John Solomon joined the program and made it official for us. So it's been a week and not something that will ever leave me. Chris Widener is the co-founder of Revival 250, author of a book, The Coming American Revival, Healing America. Chris, greatly appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve, for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been a strange week. And I don't know where to start. Look, Charlie Kirk was murdered because he was an American who believed in the freedom of speech. He was murdered because he was a Christian who believed in guidelines, but he was never hateful. Here's the problem. They take little clips out of context. He took everybody that came to the microphone, gay, straight, black, white, doesn't matter. And they try to paint him, he's this racist, he's this white nationalist, Christian nationalist. Well, look, I'm a Christian, and I believe in America first. Does that make me some sort of Christian nationalist so you can label me as something that you can try to turn into something evil so you can shoot me? Am I next because you don't agree with what I have to say? Chris, that's one of the concerns here today, the hatefulness. And then, of course, it's far-right radical violence, which is nonsense. But the gaslighting continues. Start anywhere you want.
Well, you know, Steve, one of the Bible verses that I thought about right away was when Jesus said, if they hated me, they'll hate you too. And ultimately, you know, he is a Christian martyr. I actually did a post on this because even if you say, well, no, he was a political martyr, people killed him because of his political beliefs, but his political beliefs were all rooted in biblical Christianity. And so ultimately, it's a rejection of God's values that are expressed through political beliefs. And so they hate him for it. And ultimately, it comes down to rebellion against God. Ultimately, it's people saying, I don't want God to tell me what I'm doing is wrong or what I believe is wrong. And there is a certain amount of rage that comes from that. Because ultimately, isn't that really what the temptation in the Garden of Eden was don't do this. He told you not to do this because then you'll be like him. Ultimately, the whole process has been man wanting to be God of themselves rather than having God be God of themselves.
Yeah, the serpent deceived Eve, who then shared with Adam, right? And then they found shame and covered themselves in fig leaves.
Yeah.
The serpent is everywhere. And the serpent, I believe, is an electronic serpent now. Chris, I do. I mean, I've done a lot of reading and some studying now to find out some of these gaming things. I'm not a gamer. My kids really aren't gamers. I don't know, you know, but I found all of this darkness and back channel in the cell phones, in Reddit and all these other they're just terrible places of hateful rhetoric and role playing. Than celebrating the murder of Charlie Kirk. They'd celebrate the murder of 100,000 of us. They don't. Yeah. It's strange because they've dehumanized their opponents.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. It used to be that if you wanted to go do something bad or be around bad people, you had to go into, downtown and you had to find a dark alley, or, if you wanted to buy porn, you had to go into a certain, whatever, Circle K or whatever the places are, the convenience stores, and you had to put yourself out there to be shamed for buying it. Now everything, death, destruction, porn, evil, every dark alley in the world is all accessible on our phones and for young people. And everybody gets into this kind of stuff when they go down the wrong rabbit trail. And so the accessibility is harmful. Now, there's some positivities to that. I mean, we can see events in real time and things like that, but with the good comes the bad. But ultimately, my life Bible verse is John 10:10 that says, I've come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. The evil one comes to steal, kill, and destroy. That is the serpent's whole goal, to steal, to kill, and destroy in order to hurt God, to take people away from him, because the story of the Bible is a story of redemption. We fell away from God, but God sent his son and brought us back. And so now there's this rage. And anyone who's a voice, like Charlie Kirk or yourself, myself, anybody who's a voice for Christianity is an enemy. But I believe that we're going to be seeing a revival. In fact, I think we've been seeing sort of tremors and earthquakes and all these kinds of little signs of revival coming. Everything that's been happening the past few years on college campuses, Texas A&M, Ohio State, Lee University up the road from me in Cleveland, Tennessee. There's been little tiny things. And I view Charlie's death. There's an old saying from Tertullian, who was one of the church founding fathers.
Right.
He said, the blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church. And I don't think anybody saw this coming from the other side. And in fact, Erica Kirk said that. She said, you didn't see this coming. You are not prepared for what's coming. And to see what's happening globally in cities around the world and in America and in churches, and people getting online saying, I haven't been to church in 15 years, but I'm going. I saw a guy yesterday, and I'll end with this. He was a guy, he had tats up to his chin. He was wearing a suit and a tie, and he said, I've not been to church in 15 years. But you know what? Charlie's not going to be able to go to church this Sunday, so I'm going to go take his seat. And then he did a follow-up video and telling how good church was and everything. There's something really special happening that's coming out of this evil thing, because God makes special things out of evil things.
I'm going to say one thing about that, Chris. I'm going to say one thing. If you sat in a church Sunday, if you sat in a church yesterday, and they didn't mention Charlie Kirk, or they mentioned him in a poor light, you're in the wrong church. I'll just say that straight up. If you were in a church that didn't mention Charlie Kirk, or they said something detrimental about him or tore him down in some way, you're in the wrong church. Go find a real church. I would just say that. Chris, last word to you.
One of the greatest pieces of advice I ever got was be a voice, not an echo. And, in many ways, there will be lots of people who are taking this from Charlie, and they're going to want to pass it along. Be a voice, be prayerful, get in touch with God, get around other great people, and make a difference in the world. Be a voice, not an echo.
Chris Widener, co-founder of Revival 250. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. I'm going to take that quote with me. The blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church. He is a Christian martyr. He's a political martyr, too. I think he's both. I think he's an American martyr. Killed because he was willing to stand up and speak truth about any topic. You didn't have to agree with him. I didn't agree with him on everything. But I respected his opinion. All right? I respected his opinion. How dare they gun him down and then try to justify it? Or worse, dance on his grave. We'll continue after this.
Are you ready?
All right, there's this ongoing series of lies, by the way, being perpetuated by people on the left, being pushed out, this lie that somehow this guy who murdered Charlie Kirk was a conservative, an ultra MAGA, right? Because I'm sorry, that is the dumbest thing possible. Oh yeah, he's a big supporter of the MAGA movement, therefore he killed Charlie Kirk. Right. That's like Christians against Christ. I mean, come on, people. And yet these people on the left keep regurgitating the same talking about he came from a far-right family. That's right, he came from a conservative family. And he got involved in gaming in a dark world of Discord and Reddit, and before you know it, he was dating a transgender individual. That's all been put on the record now. It's out there. By the way, the assassin's transgender roommate hates conservatives and Christians. Family members saying that the individual became radicalized and then influenced Tyler Robinson. That 22-year-old has not been charged yet, but you have to wonder because there's an investigation right now into other groups. The FBI is investigating leftist groups for possible ties to Charlie Kirk's assassination. A lot of chatter on the internet leading up to the assassination. The FBI is investigating leftist groups in Utah to see if they had connections to the alleged shooter. The FBI is investigating to see if they knew about the shooter's plans beforehand or provided any assistance to him. Robinson's father, of course, turned him in. We're now learning that he is not cooperating with authorities, but everybody around him is, including relatives of his transgender lover, apparently. So you've got that happening. And Tyler, another headline is you try, I mean, there's just a remarkable amount of material out there to wade through, to try to make sure that we give you the most credible information. From the New York Post is this headline: Tyler Robinson may have revealed details about Charlie Kirk murder to Rumi on Discord, sending app messages including about the need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point. Officials said the roommate showed them messages from a contact he had named Tyler. Some of them also described engravings on the bullet casings, of course, which we know had to do with, some of them had to do with trans ideology and more. Governor Spencer Cox of Utah, making the rounds, made it clear himself yesterday and numerous other times the ideology of this killer was far left. Any suggestion otherwise is simply wrong. Here he is.
What we know so far, there are a couple things that we can confirm that have been reported. We can confirm that again, according to family and people that we're interviewing, he does come from a conservative family, but his ideology was very different than his family, and so that's part of it. A lot of Americans are very angry right now, and there clearly was a leftist ideology with this assassin.
A leftist ideology.
So I totally understand that anger.
A leftist ideology to suggest otherwise. You know, you have people online. He didn't live with anybody. He lived at home. He was a Mormon, conservative Mormon. Stop it. Stop it. The jig is up. How many transgender mass killers do there have to be in a short period of time for you to say, wait a second, maybe there's something wrong here? The school shooting in Tennessee, the school shooting in Minnesota, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, all intertwined somewhere in that dark world of transgenderism. Look, you be you, that's fine. But you being you doesn't mean you get to shoot children at Mass. It doesn't mean you get to assassinate a public figure in front of 3,000 college kids. The ideology has proven to be very dangerous to anybody who disagrees with it. I'm not sure how a small child at Mass could disagree with it, but there you go. Oh, on disagreement. How about that? What did Charlie Kirk think about disagreement? Listen.
I go around universities and have challenging conversations, and because that's what is so important to our country, is to find our disagreements respectfully, because when people stop talking, that's when violence happens.
I've never seen someone do this.
Well, it's a growing trend because people like me are facing violence, assaults, the left. Yes, the campus Antifa. I've been stormed out of restaurants. I've been assaulted publicly, multiple death threats.
Okay, so what's your goal in all this?
There's more people that agree with me than some people would actually believe, and they come out of the woodwork when I do stuff like this. We record all of it so that we put it on the internet so people can see these ideas collide. When people stop talking, that's when you get violence. That's when civil war happens, because you start to think the other side is so evil and they lose their humanity.
Yeah, they lose their humanity. When people stop talking, that's when violence happens. Obviously. Great people make this program possible every day. Please support them. Did you know that most methylene blue being sold online is the same grade used in fish tanks? Watch out for low-quality bottles that are untested for heavy metals and made overseas. Who can you trust? The Wellness Company, of course. Recharge is the brand name, a doctor-formulated supplement combining powdered methylene blue with NAD Plus and PQQ. This methylene blue is USP grade, ensuring top-tier purity for maximum safety and effectiveness. Not the sketchy stuff you get from overseas. Recharge. Formulated with research-backed ingredients to optimize brain function, cellular repair, and so much more. Clean, lasting energy. Recharge. TWC.health/Gruber. Find out more right now on all their great products. Gold standard stuff, folks. TWC.health/Gruber. TWC.health/Gruber. Save 10% with that promo code. Back after this. It is not a both sides issue. It's simply not. And I keep seeing more of this gaslighting. 91% of all violence comes from the far right. Oh, please. Please. You know, I could sit here and do, chapter and verse about the attacks on conservatives, the murderous behavior, the hateful behavior. And it's Christians that are targeted almost exclusively. Why? Because they fear us. Because Christian, when was the last time you heard of Hare Krishna getting attacked? Or a follower of Buddha? That didn't happen. They attack Christians. There's a reason. Truth is on our side. And, well, that makes us a little bit more formidable. Now, doesn't it? Yes, it does. Again, continue to support the people that support this program. It's really important to me so we can be here every day. Patriot Mobile, a great partner. A lot of choices when it comes to who you choose for your cell phone service, and new ones pop up all the time. But here's the truth. There's only one that boldly stands in the gap for every American that believes that freedom is worth fighting for. That, of course, is Patriot Mobile. For more than 12 years, Patriot Mobile has been the front lines fighting for our God-given rights and freedoms, while also providing exceptional nationwide cell phone service, access to all three main networks, the only Christian conservative wireless network. We've had it for years. Patriot Mobile. Don't just take my word for it. Ask the hundreds of thousands of Americans who've made the switch and now supporting causes they believe in. Please do this. There's been a change in America. Please do this. Patriot Mobile. Switching easier than ever. Activate in minutes from the comfort of your home. Keep your phone or maybe upgrade. Patriot Mobile's all U.S.-based support team standing by to take care of you. Call 972-PATRIOT or go to patriotmobile.com. Promo code's Gruber, of course. Use that for a free month of service to get started. It's real easy. That's the thing. It's really easy to switch. patriotmobile.com. Promo code is Gruber. Support the companies that support this program and make free speech possible. Patriot Mobile is that company today. I'll take a break and be right back. It's the Steve Gruber Show. look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Yes, it is. As we kick off another big week here on the program, a different America we open up to today. It's a different America. Some things haven't changed, though. Who do you want in your foxhole? I think Christ might be a good partner there in that foxhole, along with whoever you put in there. Three big things this hour. Number one, Marco Rubio is in Israel. Says his focus on getting any remaining hostages, humanitarian aid, and the final end of Hamas. Forever. Number two, the twisted road to becoming an assassin, an infamous assassin. Do you remember any history, anybody in history who became famous for being assassins? I have to think about that one. And number three, what continues to make me sick to my stomach is those literally celebrating and dancing online to the murder of Charlie Kirk because they didn't like what he had to say. So quite literally, they're dancing on his grave. It really is. It really is quite something. These people who preach tolerance. The cornerstone of the progressive movement, tolerance. How about this guy? Because for some people, killing Charlie wasn't quite enough. One guy decided to show up at the Turning Point USA headquarters in Arizona and trash the memorial until he got tackled, that is, by people supporting Charlie Kirk, of course. He has to show up to kick the flowers, to wreck the thing. Listen.
And we want to warn you, the next video is disturbing. A man trampled the memorial for Charlie Kirk at the Turning Point headquarters in Phoenix. This happened not too long ago. Our photog on the scene says the man kicked over flowers, vases, and balloons. He was taken to the ground by an onlooker and then arrested. And back here live, the suspect, the alleged assassin.
Yeah, they arrested the guy, but still, what a pig. He comes through and starts kicking the flowers and destroying the memorial to Charlie Kirk because killing Charlie wasn't enough. No, you have to stand there and defecate on his grave too. But listen to the folks online. It's the far right. It's the white supremacists. It's the Christian nationalists. My ass. All right? Stop it. And coming soon, just so you know, here in this country, there's going to be an explosion of this hate even on other platforms because George Soros bought more than 200 radio stations. The attack on free speech from the left is going to take a decidedly different turn as they try to continue to peddle this garbage that somehow it's the right wing. It's the did any cities burn over the weekend? Were there masses of people blocking traffic in Los Angeles or anywhere else? Was there violence in the streets because Charlie Kirk was murdered for his beliefs? No. Not one. Not one car set on fire, not one police officer attacked, not one city set ablaze. Not one. Wake up.
Yeah, I saw no looting.
No looting. Gee, can you imagine, Anthony, what happened when they don't get their way on the other side? They set things on fire. They attack people. Didn't see it, did you? No. Yeah, this guy trashing the memorial because that's not quite enough. All right, so Ilhan Omar and this anchor whose name I don't remember on MSNBC because I don't care what his name is, basically celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk in the days afterwards. Listen to this filth.
What I do know for sure
is that, Charlie was someone who once said, guns save lives after a school shooting. Charlie was someone who was willing to debate and downplay the death of George Floyd in the hands of Minneapolis police.
I think he called him a scumbag.
Right, have no regard, downplay slavery and what Black people have gone through in this country by saying Juneteenth should never exist. And I think, there are a lot of people who are out there talking about him just wanting to have a civil debate.
Complete rewriting of history.
Yeah, there is nothing more effed up, than to completely pretend that his words and actions have not been recorded and in existence for the last decade or so.
Well, there is good news.
And
there is good news there. Congresswoman, his words have been recorded for a decade. And billions, with a B, billions of downloads have happened since he was murdered by one of yours. Billions of downloads, billions of listens to Charlie Kirk and what he actually said. Not the gaslighting, not the twisting, not the taking out of context lies. The biggest one being, he doesn't like black airline pilots. That's not what he said. At all, in fact. What he said about pilots and doctors and so forth, have the best people there. Make sure the people that have the best test scores and grades are the people that are there. Not based on the color of their skin. That was a point that he made. He didn't say he didn't want to see a black airline pilot. Not at all what he said. That's just a blatant lie. A lot of blatant lies out there. But the good news, like she said, is it's been recorded for a decade. Just like I have. 15 years for me. You want to know what I've said? Just go back and listen. I have no shame in what I've said. May not agree with it. Do I deserve to be shot today? Do I? Do I deserve to be doxxed? Do I deserve to be swatted? You know, the crazy thing is we have family members. We all do. I'm not saying this to me specifically. Who agree with what happened to Charlie Kirk. We have family members and friends who agree with what happened to Charlie Kirk. Do they think it'd be okay if I got shot today? Would that make their day if I got gunned down and I bled to death in front of my family? Would that make their day? Don't sit there and tell me it's the right that's violent. Stop it. This is not a both sides issue. One side, specifically more guilty, and it's not me, and it's not the people standing on my side of the ledger. Wake up. I'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the program. Look, a busy week, a different week. It just feels that there's a different attitude. It's going to take me a very long time, like a lot of people, to get over what happened last Wednesday in Utah. It's not normal. It's not normal that a voice of young people or of politics or of Christianity is simply gunned down in front of 3,000 people, and a group of people in this country celebrate the murder. Celebrate it. Jeremy Rosenthal's a legal expert. He was a prosecutor before becoming a defense attorney. And, well, we'll just talk about the legal side of this for a moment. Jeremy, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Steve. How are you?
I'm well. I'll not spend this time talking about the grotesque behavior of some doctors, professors, teachers, many of whom have been fired. Boy, are they shocked. It is a different day in America on that front for sure. But let's talk about the legal aspect of this. There are state charges. I don't think he's been formally charged yet. I think that happens maybe today, maybe tomorrow. But, I mean, obviously he's being held. He's not going anywhere. Capital murder, premeditated murder. I don't know how it reads in Utah, but obviously this leads to the death penalty because that's what the governor is demanding. Plus, there could be federal charges. I don't know how that would work, Jeremy. How would any of this play out? Give me your thoughts.
I think if you're looking for a really good analog here or a playbook or a roadmap, you have to look at the Luigi Mangione prosecution because there's a lot of legal similarities here. There's a lot of legal parallels here. In Luigi Mangione's case, you had a man caught on camera who was at large for several days. After that, you also had basically his motive. He was somebody who the feds are alleging was trying to, they essentially accused him of a political assassination, obviously much different. The CEO of United Healthcare, Brian Thompson, the victim in that instance. But basically, the feds got involved there because there was sort of a lot of interstate travel, a lot of interstate planning that was part of it that I don't know that we have any evidence of yet. But there was also this idea to start a broader movement. That is the part that it could be sort of terroristic, if you will. And that's the part that I think the feds typically key on. So the more that they learn about Tyler Robinson, I think the more that a picture like that sort of comes into shape.
Clearly it was premeditated. He discussed it with his family. We know that. And noted that Charlie Kirk was coming to Utah Valley University. He noted that to his family and then discussed his disgust with Charlie Kirk with his family at dinner. We know that. We know that there were messages back and forth to his roommate, apparently his lover, his roommate, after the fact, trying to pick the rifle up. Well, did the roommate know ahead of time? And who else was involved here? I think there could be other arrests in this case. That roommate, you cannot tell me that roommate was completely oblivious to the whole plan. I find that awfully hard to believe. Your thoughts?
That's an interesting question. If I was a lawyer in Utah and I got a phone call from the roommate, I would say we probably need to be a little bit concerned here.
Very.
I think that they're going to think that you were involved in this. The governor of Utah, Spencer Cox, has indicated that Tyler Robinson has not been particularly helpful in the investigation, but everybody around him has, and that includes the roommate. Spencer Cox indicated that there was it doesn't seem like the roommate had any advanced knowledge or was aware of this. I don't know. I've not seen a lot of cases where the governor speaks for the sheriff's office or the DA's office, but obviously he's privy to a lot of information. If I was the lawyer of the roommate, we would be very careful in how we dealt with law enforcement, for sure.
Here's the thing. I'm old enough to remember Gary Gilmore. Maybe you are as well. Gary Gilmore was the first prisoner executed after the Supreme Court lifted the ban on capital punishment in America. It happened in Utah, 1976, going by memory, but I've got this one nailed. Last thing Gary Gilmore says was, "Let's do it." And then he was shot by a firing squad in Utah. Firing squad's on the table here for this assailant. Seems apropos, doesn't it?
Well, it's from a lawyer standpoint, the question will be whether it satisfies the Eighth Amendment, whether it's crude and unusual. But the government's got to get there first, and that's not always a given. The Parkland, Florida shooter, the government tried to get the death penalty there. They were not able to get the death penalty there. If you are defending this person, if you're defending Tyler Robinson, and what I do is I put my prosecutor hat on, and then after I put my prosecutor hat on, I put my defense lawyer hat on. If I'm prosecuting him, then I'm pointing to a lot of these other rabbit trails, a lot of the premeditation that you discussed. And a lot of the premeditation, you can just tell. You don't wake up in the morning.
Well, you've got video, Jeremy. You've got video of him scoping the place. And now it goes back to like 8 o'clock in the morning. He traces the steps. Then he comes back limping because he's apparently got the rifle down his pant leg, right? So, I mean, this was all, he worked his way through the scene, worked his way out, had a plan, stashed the rifle, called his roommate, pick up the rifle, whatever. This was premeditated, a premeditated assassination of a political and Christian figure. I'll give you the last word real quick.
Right. So what we're gonna learn on Tuesday, the charges, which will almost certainly be capital murder. He's going to be held, as you said, without bond. Legally, there's a pathway for him to get bond. He's not going to get there just because of what happened, and I think the overwhelming evidence. What we're going to see in the next handful of days and weeks is more and more evidence that comes out. Reporters are going to go out to Tyler Robinson's neighborhood, stick microphones in everybody's face.
Well, some reporters. Jeremy, in fairness, I don't really trust the mainstream media to do its job properly. Those years have come and gone, but we'll do our job properly here to get all the answers. And I appreciate you being here. Jeremy Rosenthal, thank you.
Have a good morning.
Really appreciate it. We'll see. The death penalty's on the table, but he's right. It's hard to get to. We'll see how it plays out. I'll be right back. A couple other stories to share with you. It's a busy world. It's not just the assassination of Charlie Kirk in the headlines. Marco Rubio's in Israel saying his focus is on the hostages, humanitarian aid, and ending Hamas. Period. Ending Hamas. Arrived there yesterday, meeting with top government officials, including Bibi Netanyahu. In the social media post ahead of his flight, Rubio said his focus would be on securing the return of hostages, finding ways to make sure humanitarian aid reaches civilians, and the ongoing threat of Hamas. We'll bring you updates on that come tomorrow. Meanwhile, strange comments from Brian Kilmeade. I don't even know what to make of it. He suggested that homeless people who reject government assistance could be voluntarily euthanized. It was strange. Look, he's got to be on thin ice for that. Kilmeade's been there for a long time. I've interviewed him on this program. He's written a number of very good books. This was just out in left field. If you refuse mental health treatment, you refuse to be helped, you could pursue euthanasia. I'm paraphrasing. He has since apologized. But if that had been somebody on the left, I'm not sure we'd be forgiving of that. So Brian Kilmeade needs to be held accountable for that. I'll just put it out there. Don't know why he said it. Don't know what the reasoning for it would be. Don't know if there's a fair excuse for it. And there you have it. Kilmeade. Clean up your act. That's what I would say. This part of the program brought to you by my good friends at Cardone. Look, Grant Cardone became a friend of mine over the last couple of years. He has helped shape our business acumen. I wish I had known these things 20 years ago or 30 years ago. You can find out more about your business today on a free phone call. It's a special offer to you. Gruber10x.com, the place to go, Gruber10x.com. Grant Cardone and his team will offer you free insight into your business, helping you unplug the system, let the money flow. If you've got a business or want to be in business, this is the best free phone call you're ever going to make, Gruber10x.com. Listen, if you're in business, you want to check this out. Gruber10x.com. Get that thing going, baby. I'll be right back. What is the impact on America? I mean, I'm still coming to terms with this. I was on live television when this all happened. Then we had to announce not only the shooting, but the death of Charlie Kirk during a live television program on Wednesday. I happened to be... These things happen when you work in a job like this. And I'm on the air every afternoon. And John Solomon came on with us. confirmed it. So there we were, announcing this death on the air. My next guest, Lisa Miller, is the founder and president of Lisa W. Miller and Associates. She has over 30 years of experience, including consulting for Applebee's, IHOP, Kimberly-Clark, La Quinta, 7-Eleven, and others, and Walmart she consulted for. And I want to ask her about that. Lisa, welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Lisa, my question about Walmart today is it's all over the internet. They are selling this shirt that the assassin wore. It's available on all Walmart websites for $25 or something. I'm sorry. You might want to get ahead of that one and take that shirt down. Am I wrong?
I think it might be a little too soon for a lot of people. This is such another divisive issue that we're facing right now. But yeah, I think that could be super polarizing and not appropriate potentially.
Super. I mean, look, and I'm going to guess that shirt was there previously. It wasn't something they put up as a response to. I'm pretty certain they didn't put it up in response. But be smart. Get the shirt down. It's the one that the killer wore. It's the same one the guy wore when he went and attacked the Charlie Kirk Memorial yesterday in Arizona. So we need to get that taken care of. Let me ask you this.
Yeah, the trends just fly so quickly, and so hopefully the team there is on it. And yeah, not good.
Yeah, you might send those shirts back to where they came from. And I feel, it's unfortunate for the company that made the shirt. They didn't do anything wrong. They made a shirt that showed an eagle and a flag. But now, unfortunately, it will be forever linked with an assassination of a political and religious leader in this country, right?
Right.
I guess the question is this, because I've watched this online, as a lot of us have, since Charlie was murdered. People trying to point their fingers at the other side. It seems to me, though, a lot of people on one side of the ledger to the left refuse to accept the findings of the investigation thus far. That this was a radicalized individual who etched radicalized comments into the rifle rounds, one of which he used to kill Charlie Kirk. They seem immune to the facts. They don't care. They just want to say that's not true. He's a MAGA guy. Well, that wouldn't even make sense. Come on, a MAGA guy shooting Charlie Kirk makes no sense. To be like Christians against Christ. It's nonsensible. Okay. Can people on either side of this divide ever be friends again? Look, in families, there are people just like this kid was apparently far left. His family was far right. Can families be one together? Can people be friends after this if one is on one side and one's on the other?
Well, it definitely is just heart-wrenching. And I collect consumer data each and every month, about 1,000 consumer surveys, and I've been trending a lot of fear since the pandemic started, quite frankly. And this idea that when fear wins, it just creates this silence. And then that silence is actually what creates the violence. But at the end of the day, I think, yes, the short answer is people can be friends, but we have to be able to feel okay when we have a different opinion. And that's really what's troubling right now. Only 26% of Americans just last month basically say they feel comfortable speaking up if they're kind of in the minority. And that's what Charlie Kirk was really standing for, is, getting out there and talking to people. But only 26% of the Americans feel like if they disagree, they can say something.
Yeah, so there you go. And I've seen something that's happened this time, Lisa, that I've not seen previously. The amount of firings of people that went out there and celebrated, whether they were teachers or professors. I see one here from Southwest Airlines getting the boot. Yeah, what about free speech? Free speech is fine. Charlie Kirk was murdered for free speech. That was the price he paid. Nobody took his ability to have free speech away. But if you work for an employer and the employer finds your comments to be detestable, reprehensible, you can certainly be fired. Freedom of speech, as written in this beautiful little document here next to me, has nothing to do with private employment, does it?
Right. Well, and I think the thing is that it's really an interesting other data point I want to share with you, Steve, is also in that same survey, I found out that about 4 in 10 really find it difficult to empathize with people that are on the other side. And that is also hugely problematic. And I do want to talk about a little bit of how did we get here. And it goes back to even in 2013, where all of a sudden at college campuses, if somebody came on campus and you disagreed with them, students protested, and this all started, now it seems commonplace, but it really started in 2013. And students protested to have that speaker removed and not allowed on campus. And this idea of, if I don't agree with you, I don't feel safe. The word safe became something very different than physical safety. And it's just mushroomed since that time, 12 years later, is that if people disagree with a statement, they say they don't feel safe. And it's the wrong use of the word. Safe is around safety, physical safety. And that's where people now, they really have trouble empathizing with people with different views.
Yeah, and why is that? I think it begins with labeling people as Nazis, as Hitler, as fascist, as far-right extremists, as white supremacists. You label these people as such, as the left has been doing to people like me for years. None of it's true. I am not a fascist. I am not a Nazi, I can assure you. Mm-hmm. But you label somebody like me, and then if somebody kills somebody like Charlie or me or whoever, well, then it's the right thing to do. You dehumanize them by labeling them, and then they're of no consequence when you kill them.
Well, and honestly, that also really became very mainstream in that 2013. Think about this, though, Steve, is that the young millennials were arriving in college in 2013, and then the Gen Z behind them. And what this idea, you're very right, this idea of labeling was a way that students were taught it was good versus evil. So if you had a different opinion, you were considered evil versus just, I can agree to disagree. And so, but you asked a very important question, which is, can we get back to civility and treating people with kindness? And I do believe that, because there is one optimistic data point that I have, which is almost 6 in 10 actually do believe that friendships can survive different political views. I'd still love that number to be higher, because 6 in 10, it's more than half, but that also says there's still 4 in 10 that don't agree with that. But at least there's a little bit of hope. And I think this inflection point, we are at this interesting moment that this inflection point could really be a powerful turning point.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. I hope it's an inflection point, a turning point. It is. Turning Point USA, 38,000 inquiries for new chapters. They had 900 before the shooting. 38,000 inquiries. Lisa Miller, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
You too. Appreciate it. I'll be right back. All right, if you missed it earlier, I'll say this. The funeral for Charlie Kirk, and I will be there. Coming next Sunday, this coming Sunday. Arizona Cardinals Stadium, it seats over 70,000 people. It'll be woefully inadequate for the number of people that will turn out. It's a fact. 38,000 requests now for new chapters of Turning Point USA. 38,000 requests. Sitting in, by the way, and hosting the Charlie Kirk Show today on radio and Real America's Voice, J.D. Vance, the vice president. Sitting in to memorialize and honor his friend Charlie Kirk. Yeah, and I've been scrolling through the internet here. A lot of people getting fired. You see, because if you go out there and celebrate the murder of a young father and husband in front of 3,000 people and live streamed, the whole world saw the assassination. The whole world saw it. And you celebrate that as some sort of a good thing. Yeah, there's something inherently wrong with you. And businesses, universities, medical facilities, they don't want anything to do with that. Do no harm, doctor. Yeah, the Hippocratic Oath. If you're out there celebrating the assassination of a political figure, of a Christian figure, probably not going to be a good fit for a lot of folks. I've seen these crazy videos online of these people that have been fired going crazy. How did this happen? How did this happen? Why would I? What about my free speech? You had all the free speech. You got to say what you wanted. You're not in jail for that. Haven't been charged with a crime for that. You haven't been shot for that. You got to say your piece. They just don't have to keep you on the job. It doesn't say here. It doesn't say it. Let me read it to you. Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free speech, the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Doesn't say there's no consequences. I think it's pretty safe to say Charlie Kirk had consequences for his free speech. The ultimate consequence. And again, isn't it the irony of it? The irony that Charlie Kirk, the champion of free speech, was murdered for free speech because he was called a fascist. Called a fascist. The Olympic level fascist move is to murder those you don't want to hear from. The most devastating thing you can do about fascism is to kill the person speaking. And to suggest otherwise, my God, people, oh, they're fascists, let's kill them. Who's the fascist? The sad thing is, listening to some people, you think that Nazis came from America. You think that Hitler was born in D.C. The poor uneducated Slav masses have no idea about the Holocaust or how demeaning it is to suggest that Donald Trump is Hitler and the people that voted for him are Nazis. It's demeaning, it's disgusting, and it's flat out wrong. And people that do that ought to be ashamed of themselves, but they have no shame, of course. None. It's reprehensible. But let me say this. There's some good things happening. People returning to church in numbers like we haven't seen in a long time. And then I see rallies in South Korea, Australia, England, all over America. Tens of thousands, hundreds, a couple of 100,000 turned out in London. Or was it bigger than that? Hard to say. The crowds were immense, carrying pictures of Charlie Kirk and shouting his name. His impact is far more today than it was before he was killed. It's a horrible price to pay. But on the side of looking forward, 38,000, and still growing, 38,000 requests to create a chapter of Turning Point USA. There were 900 official chapters on college campuses, 1,200 official chapters on high school campuses, about 3,500 total affiliations for Turning Point USA prior to the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And they've got 38,000 requests and growing. It's multiplied 10 times over already. And it's still going. I know in my family, people are angry. People are hurting. Tears, anger, confusion. But building a movement. I had a gentleman say earlier on the program, the church is watered by the blood of the martyrs. May that be true. And may that blood help bear fruit of the seeds that Charlie Kirk planted, not just here in America apparently, but all over the world, to create a revival and a belief in this country and Christian beliefs. In Jesus' name, amen. I'll be right back. Let's check it on sports now with Brock Palmbush.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. There were 13 games in the NFL yesterday, week number 2. NFC winners included Philadelphia, Detroit, and the Los Angeles Rams. AFC winners included Buffalo, Cincinnati, and Indianapolis. Atlanta beat Minnesota in the Sunday night game 22-6. In Major League Baseball, there was a full schedule of games. American League winners included Toronto, Detroit, and Seattle. National League winners included the New York Mets, Chicago Cubs, and San Diego. The WNBA playoffs began yesterday with 4 games, all game ones in the first round. Winners were New York, Atlanta, Minnesota, and Las Vegas. And in golf, world number 1 Scottie Scheffler won the PGA Tour's Procore Championship in Napa, California by 1 shot over Ryder Cup teammate Ben Griffin. The Ryder Cup between the United States and Europe is in 2 weeks. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right, Brock, thank you for that. Big game down in Ford Field. Disappointed they didn't do anything to honor Charlie Kirk like the Jets, the Cowboys, and a whole bunch of others. I get it. It was each team's prerogative whether they did or didn't. I was just disappointed. I was there at Ford Field for the game, which, by the way, was really impressive. 5 touchdown passes and a pretty incredible explosion. I guess the Lions are going to be all right there, Brock.
Yeah, they're okay now. People were panicking after the Packers lost last week, but now things are okay. Gets tougher, though. They play at Baltimore, and they face the great Lamar Jackson next Monday night.
Yeah. He's a talented football player, to say the least. All right, thank you, Brock. Greatly appreciate it. By the way, if you missed it last night, the Kennedy Center, D.C., there was a Charlie Kirk Memorial. Thousands and thousands of people turned out. You know what they didn't do? Light fires, burn cars, burn down the Kennedy Center. No, they didn't do that. They went into the Hall of States and held a vigil for Charlie Kirk. It's not a both sides issue. It's not. It's just not. Not proportionately, anyway. I'll be right back. It's the Steve Gruber Show. something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent. Come on, man. We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
It sure is. I'm glad to have you here on a Monday as we kick off another new week here. It's a different week in America now, of course, after all that has happened in the last few days. But we're going to work our way through it. We've got a lot to talk about. Who do you want in your foxhole? I'll take Jesus, if it's okay with you. Best person to have in my foxhole. All right, 3 things you need to know this hour. Number 1, a Michigan lawmaker is backing a plan to let Michigan bow hunters pack pistols with them if they feel they need protection. Number 2, in the wake of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, Office Depot has fired an employee who refused to produce a Charlie Kirk poster because it was propaganda, she said. Well, she's now unemployed. Use that propaganda however you want. And number 3, from Michigan News Source, my news company, comes an editorial that I'd like to share with you today. An editorial, silencing dissent isn't just a tactic for Democrats anymore. It is their platform. If you don't support their agenda, they attempt to censor you, to cancel you, or as we have seen, much worse. And the toolbox of suppression grows faster than a Joe Biden teleprompter gaffe reel. After the assassination of Turning Point USA co-founder Charlie Kirk, actor James Woods didn't hold back on his ire. Posting on X, he declared, when the Democrats ran out of options, the ballot harvesting, the mail-in ballot fraud, the lawfare, the phony impeachments, and the illegal invasion of our borders, assassination became their last resort. The attempted assassinations of Donald Trump and Kirk's murder weren't isolated acts. They appear to be the grim next chapter of a Democrat campaign that escalated from censorship and cancellation to outright bloodshed, assassination. And as social media made disturbingly clear this past week, there are plenty of Democrats who aren't just excusing Kirk's assassination, they are celebrating it. During the Biden administration, they openly pressured big tech to erase misinformation, which they were allowed to decide what it was, which basically meant conservative speech was misinformation. Hunter's laptop, buried. COVID debate, shadow banned. Meanwhile, cancel culture became the left's favorite bludgeon. Post the wrong opinion, wear the wrong red hat, or quote the wrong Bible verse, and suddenly you're doxxed. Shut down on social media and jobless. Billionaire progressive George Soros added another layer by buying up media outlets to make sure the right voices will stay on the air and the rest will vanish into static. Yeah, Soros. He bought Odyssey out of bankruptcy, taking control of more than 200 radio stations and streaming outlets across the nation. Unfortunately, conservatives have been the targets of political violence for years, despite what the left may say. Congressman Steve Scalise barely survived. Others nearly killed in 2017 at a congressional baseball practice. President Trump has faced numerous assassination attempts, and Kirk. Charlie Kirk's only crime was organizing young people around free speech. Gunned down in broad daylight in front of 3,000 people on a Utah University campus. The message is clear. If censorship and cancellation fail, the silencing will escalate. That steady drumbeat of political violence hasn't happened in a vacuum. It's been incubated and normalized in the very places where free thought should thrive, America's classrooms and universities. These halls of learning have been the left's petri dish for this culture of suppression, which is why Kirk chose them as a battleground for his free speech crusade. Many students openly embrace woke dogma, while others privately admit they fake it just to protect grades and GPAs. They don't want to be flunked. One adult student we reported on last month recalled earning a lower grade on a well-sourced paper critical of men and women's sports simply because it didn't toe the line. You see, it didn't fit the narrative that the left demanded. The pressure to conform is breeding something worse, acceptance of silencing others by force. A recent fire survey reported in the State News from Michigan State University, in the State News, 38% of MSU students now think violence is justified to stop speech they dislike. 38% think it's okay to kill Charlie Kirk at Michigan State University, apparently. 38%. It's from the State News, not from my sources. That kind of campus-bred tolerance for political violence doesn't stay on campus. Of course, it spills into the real world. By now, in the wake of Charlie Kirk's murder, the same mob that once celebrated censorship is discovering that actions have consequences. For years, the left weaponized social media and took screenshots of speech they didn't like to destroy conservatives. But after Kirk's assassination, the tables have turned. Libs of TikTok and others on X have been outing progressives who are cheering his death online, and employers are not amused. Teachers, bureaucrats, corporate staffers, and even some in government and military are suddenly being suspended, resigning, or getting fired outright, thank God. The mob that once loved cancel culture is now crying, free speech, as they go home without a job and without a clue. Nice editorial today. You can find that at MichiganNewsSource.com. Oh, and speaking of going home without a job, how about that Office Depot? Portage, Michigan. You might have seen the video. A team member ordered and paid for a poster to be printed, a TPUSA team member, at the Office Depot so he could bring it to a vigil for Charlie Kirk in Michigan. When he arrived to pick it up 4 hours later, the employees said they refused to print it, even though it had been paid for, calling the poster propaganda. It was a flyer for a memorial. Michigan Forward, that's political propaganda. A woman who identified herself as a manager told the team member as to why the poster was not made. Millions of views. Picked up by numerous national websites. Fired from store 3382. She's gone. Fired. See, there is justice when you act like an ass. Sometimes, anyway. Sometimes. This part of the program brought to you by my friends at PuraVet. PuraVet's part of PuraClean, and we're proudly sponsored by PuraClean's Veterans Initiative, PuraVet, where veterans find purpose in property restoration and owning a business, entrepreneurship. We salute those who have served. 855-PuraVet or PuraVet.com. You can find out more at PuraVet.com. Be part of the solution. It's for vets, right? I'll take a break. Still a lot to come here today. Follow us on all the social media platforms. Hit the like button. We'll not be canceled. We'll be here. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to it. Glad you're here on the program with me. The Red Wings, I was at the Lions game yesterday. Like I said, disappointed they did nothing to respect Charlie Kirk's assassination, but so it is. Every team had its choice. We're going to stick with sports just for a moment. Dave Barr is joining me, media professional for the Detroit Red Wings training camp. Happens in Traverse City each year. It's going on now. Dave, welcome back to the program.
Well, thank you very much, Steve.
Glad to have you here. All right, so Detroit Red Wings camp. Tell me about this.
Well, the Red Wings training camp has been going on in Traverse City over 25, almost 26 years now. We had a couple of years, of course, without with the lockouts and the strikes. I think we're into year 25, maybe it's 26. A lot of us can't even remember now. It started in 1997 at Center Ice Arena out on Hammond Road, just south of Traverse City. And this year was a little bit different because the prospect tournament after COVID kind of dwindled down to just Detroit and Dallas. They played those games over the weekend in Dallas for the prospect tournament, splitting a pair with the Stars. And this Thursday, the boys will be in Traverse City for 3 days on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And they'll get out on the ice, of course, with the new coach who came in mid-season last year, Todd McClellan, and a new attitude and a lot of new players. So we're looking forward to having them here at Center Ice in Traverse City.
So where do they play there in Traverse City? How many people can come watch? How big a place is it?
Well, we cram a few in, and don't tell the fire marshal. We're usually a little over on some of the bigger weekend days. But, you get about 2,000 people in there, maybe 2,200 with some standing room. This year they're going to be sheets of ice, so, we'll probably have closer to 3,000 on some of the days, particularly on Saturday, because both sheets of ice will be used so people can go back and forth. But I'm sure that by the time the scrimmage rolls around on Saturday about noon, that will be standing room only inside the main arena.
No, well, that'll be pretty interesting. What's the team look like this year? I mean, I have no idea. We got a good team, bad team? Are we going for the Stanley Cup here? What's up?
Well, we haven't made the playoffs in several years now, but they picked up some folks. Everybody is an armchair quarterback, and they critique Steve Yzerman's every move. But it took a long time. You got to remember the Red Wings had a lot of legacy costs going back to, when they did win the Cup. They signed a lot of big players to, big contracts back in the day that had, deferred payments. So I think we're finally done paying some guys. I think Steve Yzerman was still getting some players' money up until a year or so ago because of contracts that had been signed under Ken Holland. So we're finally beyond that in the world of the salary cap. So, he's been active, but Yzerman believes in building the team from the ground up. So he's used a lot of draft picks. They work very closely with Grand Rapids, who has had a pretty decent team the last few years. So I think we're headed in the right direction. We did pick up a goalie that will probably, help us out a little bit. We've added a few spots. So, I think the team is competitive. The problem that the Wings are in is every team's about in the same boat. So it's not necessarily they're really horrible or the other teams are just that much better. It's just with the salary cap and the way it is, everything has become comparable. And, one or two bad losses at a bad time, and you've missed the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of fun. So you've got do you have some tickets here? Am I understand that?
I do. I've got a pair of tickets. I don't know how you want to do it, but I'm willing to give you a pair of tickets for Saturday's practice. Doors open at 9. Skates start at 10. They run till about 2:30. And like I said, the scrimmage will be about noon. And then afterwards, hopefully it's a beautiful day, go out there and maybe grab some autographs before some of the players leave town and head to Grand Rapids. But I've got a pair of tickets, and however you guys want to give them away.
Yeah, how about we do this?
I'm good for that.
How about we do this? info@stevegruber.com. Send us an email. Tell us why you'd like you and somebody else go see the Red Wings practice, Center Ice, Traverse City. info@stevegruber.com. An interesting little giveaway here from our friend Dave Barr. Dave, you've been doing this for the Wings for a long time, haven't you?
Yeah, a long time. My first year was a participant just there. I'd been in Port Huron the year before, the fall of '96. I moved back to Traverse City in the fall of '97 and got involved in the fall of '98.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so there you go, guys. You guys want some tickets? Want to take a kid? Want to take your kid? Whatever it might be. info@stevegruber.com. It's worth, they're worth $70 with all the fees.
Yeah, it'll be a great time. And like I said, the practices are back. The scrimmages are back. A lot of fans on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday missed the scrimmages, and they are back in Traverse City. And I should mention, Steve, after they leave here, because it's the 30th anniversary of the Grand Rapids Griffins this year, they're actually going to play the red and white game at Van Andel, and that's for the 30th anniversary. And tickets are, if there's any left, they're selling fast.
Yeah. All right, there you go. All right, Dave Barr. Good stuff. The Wings in Traverse City. Wings over Michigan. I think that was like a, Wings over America. That was a different thing. It was an album. Dave Barr, thank you as always.
Hey, I appreciate it, Steve. Thank you.
What a great deal for Traverse City to have that every year, right? What a cool deal. All right, so info@stevegruber.com. You could walk away with these tickets. info@stevegruber.com. All right. Get signed up. Write me a little note. Tell me why. We'll pick somebody wonderful. Maybe it's you. I'll take a break and be right back. All right, so here, this is funny. NBC News reporting breathlessly that numerous employees from all over the country have been fired or placed on leave over comments related to Charlie Kirk. The move has sparked growing concerns about freedom of speech in the workplace, with critics warning that disciplinary actions are creating a chilling effect on open expression. It's the workplace. You don't have freedom of speech in the workplace. Let me read this to you again. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech. It doesn't say your company. It doesn't say the people you work for. You can go in and say anything you want. It doesn't work that way. This is about government. People are so dumb. And Charlie Kirk got shot in the throat for free speech. Gee. I'm supposed to feel sorry for you because you lost your job. Sorry. You danced on the grave of a 31-year-old father and husband. Yeah, these teachers, and the military too, is the Jeffrey points out. While teachers, feds openly cheering a political assassination, then cry free speech when they get canned. Actions have consequences. Free speech is perfectly fine, but free speech has consequences. Nothing demonstrates that more than the execution of Charlie Kirk. He exercised free speech and paid the ultimate price. Gunned down in front of 3,000 college kids. You know, and if you get fired, well, that's just too bad. That is just too bad, isn't it? You have the freedom to say it. Your employer has the right to fire you. This is, see, and if you understood the Constitution, if you'd bother to show up in civics class in middle school or high school, you'd know that. You were too busy doing whatever you're doing. Maybe you should have paid attention. Then you'd know you can be fired for such hateful things. Okay. I'll be right back. All right, jumping back in it now, you may have seen this. We talked about this a couple of times. Office Depot had some employees, one for sure, in Portage, Michigan, store 3382, Portage, Michigan. There was an order placed for some flyers for a memorial, for a vigil for Charlie Kirk. Paid for, everything was done. When they arrived at the store to pick them up, they were told, no, you can't have those. We're not printing those. That's propaganda. And this manager, this woman just sat right there and just said, no, you're not getting him. Well, she's been fired. She's one of scores of people across the country who've lost their jobs because, look, you can't just, and then they're screaming about freedom of speech. I've got a quote from Rolling Stone here for you in a minute, but we'll get to that. Joining me is Ronna McDaniel. She's the CEO of the Michigan Forward Network. Of course, she's been around in politics for a long time. Ronna, nice to have you back on the program.
Great to be with you. Thanks for having me, Steve. Sad circumstances.
Yeah, terrible circumstances. Look, we're all still trying to figure our way forward. Look, I was live on the air when this all happened, when the report of the shooting came down, and then we had to report that Charlie didn't make it, which, obviously a devastating injury and not sustainable. But then the people that have been dancing on his grave. And here's, look, you've been in Republican politics for a very long time. You've been the focus of death threats. So have I. And then they sit there on the other side and say, oh, it's violence in America. 97% of political violence is far right. I'm like, that is such nonsense. And yet they continue to regurgitate these lies, Ronna, every single day. And here's just another example. Oh, that's propaganda. We can't have a picture of a man at his memorial vigil. We can't allow that. I mean, these people have lost their minds. Where am I wrong?
They've lost their mind. And in this incident, we had a young staffer from Michigan Forward who went in, and Steve, it was literally just a flyer, a tribute flyer for Charlie. It was celebrating his life. That's all it said. It said nothing about his political affiliation, nothing about Turning Point. And he was so respectful, this young man, but he was also mourning, very sad. A lot of our staff was, obviously devastated. Young kids around this country who followed Charlie, who followed him their whole lives. And so he went in, very respectfully said, "Can I talk to a manager?" And they said, "No, this is propaganda." That wouldn't have happened if it was a Democrat. It just wouldn't have. And so we rightly put it out. We put the receipt out. We put the flyer, so everybody had the whole story. Office Depot, thank goodness, responded, because it's unacceptable to lie to a customer and say, we won't print a flyer about somebody's passing to tribute them.
Yeah. You see, they're going wild. But this is different, Ronna. It is. And I think in a good way. And what I mean by that is that people are actually being held accountable in 2025. I don't think they would have been a year ago. I don't think they would have been 2 years ago.
I know this firsthand. I mean, when I was RNC chair, we were deplatformed. We were kicked off of credit card processing. We were kicked off of social media platforms. Many people were fired, kicked off of boards that they sat on just for being Republican. So that was the norm not so long ago, where you could lose your life and your livelihood for being a conservative. I am glad to see the pendulum swing a little, where finally Democrats are being held accountable for their lack of any type of willingness to work across the aisle, for what they're doing to conservatives, and they're actually losing their jobs for celebrating the death of a young man. And that is the right thing to have happen.
Yeah, and let me bring this back. Is Charlie Kirk's words are taken out of context in a variety of places. But look, the fact of the matter is they've lost the debate. They've lost the argument. So I think it's even more dangerous today than it was Wednesday of last week. And I say that because of vigils like the one you held, or the memorial service or funeral, if you will, that's coming up next Sunday in Arizona. I'll be there along with my wife, because Charlie Kirk was a friend of ours. We knew him, not as well as some, but well enough to call him and number him among our friends for sure. But I think this is a dangerous time. They've lost the argument. They've lost the debate. And I believe these people are more dangerous and more willing to commit more violence now than before Wednesday. I think people should have their head on a swivel, be concerned, be focused, look around and see what's happening. Because if you're gathering a bunch of Charlie Kirk supporters in one place, or supporters of free speech, or conservative values, or Christian values, man, you're a big target, aren't you?
Yeah, I think it's a really scary time. Steve, you were on the air, but I was about to get in the air. I was about to get on a flight, and I have 2 college-age kids who were a wreck. They met Charlie. They'd gone to Turning Point events with me.
Sure.
It was really, really tough as a mom. And I didn't see the footage because I wasn't on social, but they
Don't
saw the
watch it.
footage immediately. There was no filter. So they knew instantly that it was probably fatal. Plus, my daughter went to Brigham Young. So she had many friends at UVU who were there in person, who were calling and texting. This is a moment they will remember for the rest of their lives. And what I'm worried about is it going to scare people out of the public eye? Is it going to make them afraid to speak up? We can't let that happen. We need to change, make sure that our kids feel safe and they understand the importance of free speech. That is what Charlie would have wanted. That's what all of us want. But we do have to recognize that safety, unfortunately, is an issue in this country.
Yes, it is.
And we've got to make sure that we tone it down a little. And we can't allow the left to call us Nazis and monsters and demonize us, all these names we've been called. You know, I've lived under many, many death threats for many years. And it is frightening. And it's frightening for this next generation and what they saw last week. We've got to help them recover from that.
Yeah, I am not a Nazi. I am not a fascist. I'm not a white supremacist. I'm not any of these things that they try to label you and I every single day. But let me give you a couple quick quotes. They bring a knife, we bring a gun. Barack Obama. I want you to argue with them and get in their face. Barack Obama. I don't want to quell anger. I think people are right to be angry. I'm angry. Barack Obama. Hit back twice as hard. Barack Obama. I could go on with this list, by the way. I think that's where it started. This idea that Donald Trump has divided America, nonsense. I mean, is he a polarizing political figure? Yes, but it did not start with him. We can do better, Rana. We're going forward. 38,000 requests for new TPUSA chapters in this country. Charlie Kirk planted a lot of seeds around this country for freedom of speech, for Christianity, for the future of this nation. I'll give you the last word.
Well, and he also brought young kids who are being indoctrinated on college campuses by liberal ideology and said, I'm going to help you change the way you think. I'm going to give you a different path. And that was critical. It was critical in the last election. And he took on the status quo. And that's brave and difficult. And of course, now we've seen the result of that. But his legacy will live on. And we obviously send our prayers to his wife, Erica, and his young children, and the millions of people that he touched and these young kids.
You got it. Ronna McDaniel, always appreciate talking to you. Michigan Forward Network, if you want to find out more. Thank you, Ronna.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
Always, always. The world is different today, but it can still be better. Don't lose hope of that. Don't lose sight of the joy. It's still possible. I'll be back. All right, it's a long way from normal, but Ivy and I did go to the football game in Detroit yesterday. My first ever NFL game, weird at my age, but I'd never been to one before. She'd been to one previously, I think. Really enjoyed our time there. Seemed somewhat normal. I was disappointed the Lions did nothing in remembrance of Charlie Kirk like so many other baseball teams and football teams did, but I'm not going to beat on too much. I mean, it was each team's prerogative to make a decision in that regard. So, Ivy, good morning. Glad you're here.
Good morning, Steve. Happy to be here with you as well.
All right. So, where are we starting today? What's on your mind? I mean, it's been such a strange few days, and all this hatred and all this bile and all this gaslighting. Oh, he's a MAGA guy killing a MAGA guy. I mean, come on. We're not that dumb.
Right, and there's no shortage of false information online. There's no shortage of vitriol and hate, and I think actually it's a good thing that we have these online forums because we can see in an instant decent versus vile, and just with people that have no care, no sanctity for life. It's a very sad thing to see, and I don't know how we reconcile with people like that. I think you can perhaps try to reach those sort of folks, but I'm not sure. It's something that I struggle to understand. I think it's something that a lot of people struggle to understand. Yeah, you know, the more than more, and you actually shared this video with me yesterday about this odd world of furries and
it's all this back channel internet stuff with gamers and so forth. It's just like this strange, evil world and they have these different memes and conversations. It's like in code, and some of it's sarcastic, but it's sarcastic. Oh, I was just kidding, when maybe they're not kidding.
What is the term for that? Do you remember? It's groypers?
Groypers, something like that. Yeah. Which is what the left is trying to say. Oh, this guy's a groyper, a far-right extremist. That's why he killed Charlie. This is garbage.
Right.
He was a far leftist. His family said so. The governor said so. The FBI says he's living with a man who's transitioning to be a woman. And they're in a relationship. Right. They're in a gay relationship. That's it.
And
doesn't matter.
And there was just another story that just came out about the transgender roommate's family member that said that
he's a radical
these people,
leftist.
Yeah, they hated they hated conservatives, and so anyhow, as I'm going down this rabbit hole, I implore everyone, whether you're a parent or a grandparent, to really talk to your kids about what's going on in school, what they're looking at online. The internet can be a dark place. It can be a place that you can obtain a lot of knowledge, but it also can be a place that kids, teenagers, and young adults can get lost in and get sucked in and manipulated easily, especially if they don't feel like they have a purpose and a place in the world. And it really makes me think about young men. You know, when you think about how I find that especially white young men, a lot of the times in the public school and then in the college system, they really get told that they are like they're the least important people on earth.
Well, and going back to what you were saying here, that's exactly up the line of what attracts these people to this darkness. They don't feel like they belong to anything. They're incels. Incels being people that are basically incapable of dating, can't get a girl to go out with them, so they're an incel. You've got this disconnect from anything. So they find a community, they find a purpose, they find commonality in these other people that feel lost and adrift. And so what happens inside here, it's the devil's electronic playground. That's what happens in there, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. As pornography is readily available,
Sure.
as is any of these forums that provide the space for these people to come together
and all the violent shooting games.
And I think about too this whole furry thing, and this should not be acceptable in schools. And I think that please again talk to your kids. If this is being allowed in your public school in your area, you need to start standing up against that.
I hear rumors about that.
That is not a thing that you can tolerate.
Yeah, I hear rumors about that, but usually when I go and research, it's just online rumor. I don't find any evidence.
I mean, how many I've seen these sorts of people with their parents dressed up like this, and I just don't understand what the motivation or why you would allow your kid to do something like that. But this actually goes back to, in my opinion, where people wanted to do things sexually that they felt were not inappropriate, and that they could hide their face, and then they would not be shamed because no one would actually know who they are. And so I think that's where this kind of thing started, and then developed into, this whole online weird fantasy place.
Whatever it is.
Whatever
Darkness.
it is. But
it's just darkness.
I think that we, as Christian conservatives, business owners like you and I, we're very busy, and we are working on building a business and building our own family. And I do think that it's time that, similar to what Charlie Kirk's mission is that we need to go out and talk to people in community and make sure that, hey, we're allowing a place for young people in America to be successful, to feel like they're part of something, to remind them, whatever race, religion, color you are, you have a place, you can succeed in America. And I think because we're just so wrapped up in this digital world that we do forget to talk to one another. We don't even look at each other in the eye in the darn grocery store.
But let me say this, and I think this bears repeating every single day. I am not a Nazi. I am not a fascist. I am not a racist. Stop calling me names because it is pissing me off. Stop it.
Well, it's not true.
Of course it's not true.
But
that's what they do. They label just exactly what you said here several times last week. They label you, they dehumanize you, and then they can kill you.
Right. Starts with a label, then you then turn into the enemy, which then manipulates people into believing that it's okay for you to be killed.
Right. We got to leave it there. You were right last week. It's stop labeling us. I'm none of those things. She's none of those things. We're just people.
And I'd like to stick around and say one more. I want to tell you one more story that I found.
You have to wait after the break.
Okay.
Sit there. I'll be right back with Ivy. All right, back to it real quick. We got a couple minutes left here. Ivy, you had something else you wanted to share. Go ahead.
Yeah, I actually found this video of a parent, telling she had 2 little kids standing there, and I actually posted this on your Twitter page or X page. And she says, "I have really good news, girls." And one of the girls chimes up and says, "Donald Trump is dead." Another one,
my gosh.
And the other one, she's like, "No." And the one chimes up and said, "Elon Musk is dead." And she said, "No, nobody's dead. My best friend's getting married. Taylor Swift is marrying, Kelsey or whatever, Travis Kelsey." And, she starts celebrating. And I'm thinking to myself,
who has taught their children to celebrate the death of Donald Trump or Elon Musk or anything? Oh, my God. You just put that up, I take it.
Yeah, and it just makes me think that, hey, this sort of stuff starts at home.
Who teaches this stuff?
We should not be encouraging this type of
Would that not be child abuse?
Others. Well, one would wonder. One would wonder.
Thank you for posting that.
Yes.
Greatly appreciate it. Well, let's stay this way. Be like Charlie. Love you, Ivy.
Love you, Steve.
Greatly appreciate it. We'll not let this stand. Look, 38,000 inquiries for new TPUSA outlets, chapters. Charlie Kirk rallies and vigils globally, not just here in America. Ivy and I will be in Arizona for the memorial service next Sunday. Might see you there. It concerns me that it's a place where we can be targeted, but I'll not live in fear. I will not. I will fight for what we are, and I will fight for who we are. And again, let's go over one more time. Not a fascist, not a Nazi, not a white supremacist, just an American, just a guy married to a beautiful woman trying to do our work and raise nice kids. That's it. That's all I'm guilty of. So, fight the good fight, keep the faith. God bless America. I'm Steve Gruber. That, of course, is Ivy. This is the Steve Gruber Show. This show dedicated to Charlie Kirk. Find out more yourself, tpusa.com.